Welcome to Washington in Focus. I'm Brett Davis. Joining me today is the Center Square's investigative reporter, TJ Martinell. You authored a story recently with the catchy headline, Report on Washington's Office of Equity Director, Racial Bias, Avengers, and Instructions from God. Now, if people read that headline and they don't read the story, I don't know what's wrong with them. But anyway, it was recently announced that the governor's office fired Dr. Karen Johnson, the state's first director of the Office of Equity. They cited a lack of stability and budgetary concerns as the reasons for getting rid of her, but you did some digging and got some more details. What did you find?
Well, I found that they had done an internal investigation. They had hired a law firm to come in and figure out what was going on because there was these allegations of various behavioral problems and also statements that she was saying to people in the office. And then there was just dysfunction that they were alleging. And so one was that she was micromanaging the employees. Everybody had to go to her for basic decision making. Things that you would normally delegate to a subordinate. She was allegedly, according to the investigation, she was engaging in that. One of the things they noted is that there was a high turnover rate, like I think 30%. And every person who had resigned in their resignation letter, I guess when you do a leaving the workplace kind of feedback thing, they said that it was due to, quote, a chaotic, overburdened and disrespectful workplace culture created by Dr. Johnson. So when they looked into the investigations, some of the examples of the behavior was a woman was told by Johnson that she could not have her hair braided because it was, quote, cultural appropriation. She alluded to employees that she received messages from God and telling specific people that God had instructed her to hire them and that they would be disappointing God by not accepting the role. She allegedly told a Mexican employee that, quote, this may take some time for me because I generally distrust Mexican people. Mexican people have the option of being white when it is convenient for them.
Wow. Stereotype city.
In the Office of Equity, of all places.
The irony. Now, there's a reference to the Avengers in your headline. What's that all about?
She was interviewed by the law firm in February, and she compared her team to the Avengers operating out of vibranium to bring equity and justice to the world. Vibranium is a fictional mineral from the Marvel comic book series.
That just seems nonsensical anyway. How do you operate out of a fictional metal? What does that even mean?
Well, these are notes from them summarizing what she said, so it's not an exact statement. Now, it could be. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask the law firm for the transcript. I'm assuming they were recording these conversations.
Now, did Dr. Karen Johnson offer any explanation for her behavior or work management style?
She said that the staff didn't have the skills needed, that they could not operate at the level that she was requiring. According to the summary of her interview, she described government agencies as family members. So the Office of Financial Management, the Office of the Governor, and she, according to this summary, that half her family was left out of the loop and set to fail, and the other half of the family exercised their privilege to help her.
Yeah, that's an odd response.
I mean, there was other stuff in the investigation report that I did not include because I just felt like it wasn't. A lot of the stuff in these cases, it's these small little things that add up to, it's like a deluge is the result of lots of tiny raindrops. But these were some of the things that I think convey to people the kind of environment, according to the investigation, that these people were dealing with. And the irony is as I'm sure people listening and have read the story or have concluded, is that the irony is that this is the Office of Equity. This is the kind of stuff that the Office of Equity is supposed to get rid of or root out or discover and prevent.
I probably should have asked this at the beginning. I was going to ask, what exactly is the Office of Equity? This is a relatively new office, right? What is it supposed to do?
Well, that's a good question. As far as equity, it depends. I guess it depends on who you're asking. I think what they probably would mean is where there are equal outcomes for everyone, where everybody is on the same level. I think that's probably because they're not calling it equality. They're saying equity. So where everybody has access to the same stuff, everybody has the same socioeconomic position, or there's a balance, I guess, is as opposed to one group of people having more of whatever it is you are looking at specifically. Workplace opportunities, or if there's not enough people of a certain demographic in a government agency or something like that.
Well, this is a rather inauspicious debut for the first director of the Office of Equity.
It's kind of like the first day of opening for Disneyland, where all the rides didn't work.
So it's my understanding that there's a search on for a permanent director that's underway right now. So hopefully they'll have better luck with the second director. I imagine they don't want to repeat people in that office in the state don't want to repeat of what's been happening here.
I have a feeling that they're going to probably play a prominent role in the interview process.
I'll be curious to see what happens with his office as time goes by. Like I said, I would imagine they're going to have their radar up and they're going to try and get someone who's a little more conventional, is my guess. Anyway, listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. For TJ Martinell, this is Brett Davis. Please subscribe and thanks for listening.